Welcome back once more, and let's wind up with this corruption conversation. Like we did tell you earlier, on page 10 and 11 is a double-page analysis, special report by the Standard, on the Sunday Standard, on the shocking numbers involved in corruption scandals in this country. Some of those investigations, most of them still ongoing. Others not ongoing, but no culpability. Nobody has been convicted, but the numbers are shocking. So that's what we're talking about. But the latest has been the National Youth Service scandal, the latest one that has been christened NYS2, which according to, depending on who you listen to, 9 billion or 10 billion shillings could have been lost. The DCI and the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission say they are on top of things. This past week, the PS, who was in charge, who is still in charge, Lilian Mbogo Omolo, was grilled in Parliament. Let's listen to some of the questions and what she had to say.
If NYS is as clean as you claim, then I would want to know what DPP, DCI, and all the other investigative authorities are doing in your organization. Is it a fishing expedition? Are they there to waste taxpayers' time?
For every supplier who's owed money by NYS, I can assure you, we spend sleepless nights over their threats, over their consistent calls, over their intimidation. That is has become part of our daily lives. So there has to be a way we find to put a closure.
Could it possibly be that these investigating agencies are deliberately holding these items so that they're not available to the public?
Yeah. We should take judicial notice, Mr. Chairman, that the DG then and the PS then were tried and have since been acquitted. We might be seeing a situation where the investigating agencies themselves are frustrating investigations by withholding documents, so that the Auditor General cannot ascertain.
Blame games and passing the buck characterized that session between Lilian Omolo and members of Parliament. But those members of Parliament have also been speaking about this and other corruption scandals in the country.
We're going to allow cartels to bring down our economy. Na I am happy President Uhuru Kenyatta amepeana directions ya kufight corruption kwa both NYS, kwa kila idara ya serikali.
For proper investigation on this matter, we demand that the Kirinyaga governor, Honorable Anne Mumbi Waiguru, be brought before relevant parliamentary committees for questioning, and the office of the DPP and the ESCC that cleared her on the previous 791 million scam at NYS bar her from contesting for public office.
Those people who have stolen, wale wenye wameiba na wanajulikana ama imepitia kwa desk yako na imeibiwa, you should step aside na lazima uwe prosecuted. Na wenye wanaiba assets zao, they should be frozen. Na hiyo pesa irudishiwe wananchi.
Hata judiciary tuambie Maraga, wewe ni mzee wa kanisa, saidia sisi. Wacha yule ameiba kuku anafungwa miaka 10. Mwingine akiiba bilioni, hatusikii vile inaenda, jina inatolewa, inapotea. Inaenda hivi hivi.
All right, some leaders speaking about what should be done to cartels, to people who steal. One of those people, Dismas, who spoke, was the leader of majority in the Senate, Kipchumba Murkomen. You said you had not heard him speak about this, but he's also still complaining about cartels. What is your take on the political will, especially from the Jubilee administration side, and Uhuru Kenyatta's ability to fight corruption once and for all?
Let me just clarify. When I said that I've not heard these leaders speak, what I meant to say is that we are not supposed to be having conversations like we are morticians discussing the past. Somebody has died, and we want to do a postmortem. We should be physicians. There's a patient here. How do we prevent the patient from dying? What the Honorable Murkomen has indicated is describing the problem. He has not described the solution. And in my view, the president doesn't need any goodwill to fight corruption. He is the president of the Republic of Kenya. He's got all assets at his disposal. At the flick of his fingers, he can summon all the anti-corruption actors to State House and he will give them instructions. That's what he needs to do. And in my view, I've seen a senator there by the name Malala, speaking like a member of civil society, yet he sits in the leadership position of the Senate. Why can't we have these senators and members of the National Assembly review legislation around anti-corruption? Because as it were, the Leadership and Integrity Act is very weak. We have decided to mutilate Chapter 6 of our Constitution. Article 10 has been mutilated. If you tell a public servant that you go ahead and steal $1 billion, and we are going to name and shame you without any consequence, nothing will happen. Right now, if you steal any amount of money, say $1 billion, because now $1 billion has become the bare minimum people are stealing, you'll easily find yourself a member of the National Assembly or the Senate or a governor. And very soon you will tell us you want to run for president. That's what is happening today. Why can these MPs borrow best practice from China? They've been going to so many countries on benchmarking tours. Why can't they go to China to find out how they fight corruption? That if we find you stealing and you are proven beyond doubt you've stolen, we take you to Uhuru Park on a sunny day or maybe on a rainy day. We strip you naked and we shoot you. You die. Then we name and shame your family and friends who are beneficiaries of this corruption. And then the third level, we ensure that all those assets acquired from corruption, we take them back. I saw a few days ago, somebody has stolen $1 billion, Bob, and is going to be sentenced, say, for 1 year. I mean, if you steal $1 billion and you are sent to jail for 1 year, that will be a picnic. You'll just go and count one year, you come out, you go run for a political office. So in my view, these legislators, instead of addressing public barazas and rallies and funerals, describing the problem, they should be giving us the solution. And the solution will be legislation. Naming and shaming, as Mark Bichache says, that is the first fight in corruption in Kenya, is a waste of time. If you name and shame a guy who has stolen, in fact, you are giving him political capital to run for office. It's going to be a waste of time. Mark? And I think at this stage, we need to take attention to what President Kenyatta has indicated. It's reported in the newspapers today that he has established a committee to revet again the people he appointed to key offices. And I hope that when he gets the reports from the people who are doing it, he should not hesitate to send these guys home. And also, let's revisit what Musalia Mudavadi has indicated. Let's go back to that Leadership and Integrity Act and make it painful for somebody to steal. Because right now, I mean, believe me, this is a Sunday morning. All the guys who have stolen our money, right now they're giving it as sadakas. And when they're given the opportunity to address people, that the first people to say that we cannot allow corruption to thrive in Kenya. That the ones, I mean, it reminds me when I was growing up, in a village market, somebody will come and steal your banana and he'll shout thief. So you start running in the wrong direction, yet the fellow has already got the banana in his pocket. That's what is happening in Kenya today.
Nice anecdote there. Mark, the president in his 7th month, I think, since taking over for a second term, is he losing the war on graft?
The war on corruption is a tricky one. And to determine what victory is equally tricky.
Especially, no, it's not.
Just let me finish.
You stop corruption.
Let me finish, and I'll tell you why it's equally tricky. The simplest solution is what Dismas has prescribed before. Let us frog march all these people who've been mentioned in corruption, take them to Uhuru Park on a nice Sunday like today, and instead of receiving their sadaka, let the Lord or the devil receive them in whichever hell or heaven they pretend to exist in. And that is the easiest solution. However, that is not the constitutional dispensation for which we agreed to subject ourselves. Therefore, the only way is the implementation of the rule of law. Now, unfortunately, the government, the president is not in charge of the judiciary. He is not directly in charge of the EACC. He cannot force them to persecute. And therefore, there is something called due process. The president, as far as my seeing of his office he can do, is number one, push his party, Jubilee Party, to pass legislation that makes it punitive for anyone to participate in corruption. Number two, he needs to push his party to actually actualize Chapter 6 of our Constitution. We reduced that Chapter 6 to a self-declaration form. Have you ever participated in corruption? No. I am feeling it myself. There's no investigation, there's no vetting, there's no even public participation to ascertain. You understand? So what needs to happen and what the president can do and what the win against corruption is number one, he needs to be able to fire people for failing to protect Kenyans from the corrupt. He needs to be able to say, listen, your ministry, your department, your directorate has been implicated in corruption. That tells me that you have failed because it has been proven that 680 million or 1 billion has been stolen. Get out of office now.
All right.
Two, he needs to be the champion of anti-corruption. His voice needs to be topmost on anti-corruption. That is what can happen based on the legislation that we have. But shooting people in Uhuru Park, I support that, but it is illegal.
Hesbon, very quickly, time is not on our side. Is the president, is that corruption thing, now the second scandal in those 7 months, is it threatening to be the main topic, talking point ahead of the Big Four agenda that he wants to be his legacy?
Yeah, I think there's a conversation that now corruption is the only agenda. There is nothing like the Big Four. And it's unfortunate that if we continue with this conversation, it may actually render the Big Four agenda useless. But I want to look at it from a very positive side, that all these corruption allegations actually presenting the president with a very opportune moment to act on corruption, because he has come outrightly in the public and say that his second term is going to be about fighting corruption and ensuring that the Big Four happens. So if everything that I'm seeing is the way I'm hoping things to pan out, I think the president is running away from the name and shame, the glory of corruption, and acting on these things, because all the investigative agencies are on these cases. The media is on these cases. So the only thing that the president has to do so that we understand that he means what he says is to act. But I want to point us to a story that was done by Vincent Akech on The Standard about Monica Kanini, that we need to run away from the issue of publicizing corruption. Let the agencies do their work. We should actually start a conversation of glorifying people who are saying no to corruption.
All right.
Monica Kanini received money from NYS, Central Bank of Kenya. It hit her account, one of the local banks, and she raised a flag and returned that money back to Central Bank of Kenya. I think that this is a serious whistleblower, and we should start asking ourselves, what are the investigating agencies doing about this? How culpable are the people at Central Bank who sent this money and received it back and they didn't talk?
All right. Kipchumba, final thoughts. 1 minute on.
We have glorified corruption enough. I think it's the most popular commodity we have in this country. It is bigger than the Big Four. It is even bigger than some personalities. That is where the problem lies. Secondly, from my clear thought processes of thinking, I think the first step is to give unconditional amnesty to all corrupt people. That's the first point. You give them unconditional amnesty and you develop policy legal framework that going forward, we need to fight corruption prospectively. Because look at it this way, we need to agree that fighting past corruption has overwhelmed the best professionals we have. We tried fighting Goldenberg, we could not make headways.
Okay.
Even now going forward, we need to ask ourselves, let us stop here and start afresh. Let us make sure that going forward, the Chapter 6 of our Constitution is not just a flower in the entrance of the legal forums in this country, but it is a real law in this country. Secondly, we need to make corruption more of a economical and a political subject as opposed to being legal. Anytime you make corruption legal, we know how it has ended.
All right.
We need to learn from that.
All right.
We cannot allow Kipchumba to get away with murder. Amnesty, we gave amnesty when Moi left power. It led to Anglo-leasing. Let me tell you, if you have ever had children, and perhaps Kipchumba does not know this, let me tell you, you must always discipline your children. What you let go of today will kill you tomorrow. That is the reality.
Just a question. Ben,
maybe the amnesty is so that they return back the money.
What Bichachi needs to understand is this: fighting corruption the way we have been doing is not getting us anywhere.
Yeah, but
and the best way to do is this: give these people amnesty, tell them, I'm giving you a man.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. Thank you. I hope the president is listening to the very varied propositions here. Of course, the spotlight on the President Uhuru Kenyatta over the state of corruption. 2 big scandals already in his first 7 months of his second term, threatening to derail his Big Four legacy agenda, because that is a lot of money that has been lost. A lot of debate has been ongoing. A lot of people asking, why should Kenyans pay taxes if their money is stolen like this? So it's a big conversation. Thank you, General, for joining me this morning. Kipchumba Karori, a lawyer and political strategist, political analysts and communication experts, Mark Bichachi, and Hesbon Willa, political risk analyst, Dismas Mukua. Thank you for being with us this Sunday morning for the last 110 minutes or so as we dissected the biggest political and governance issues in the Republic. Join us again next Sunday, same time. I'm Ben Kitili. Bye for now. Next up is Weekend at 1 with Ashley Mazuri. Don't go too far.